Hey everybody, I am beyond tired at this point, but I wanted to do a quick update. So, as you may know, Nixon officially closed the gold window back in 1971, and since then we've been using a currency that is backed by nothing. The US dollar is backed by nothing, the euro is backed by nothing. It's a confidence game, and these are synthetic currencies. And if you want to continue to use the dollar or the euro to pay your parking meter or to pay your bar tab, I have no personal problem with that. But the fact that they're not acknowledging newer, better currencies like Bitcoin really does freeze our progress as a species. Because up until 1971, when Nixon made that very poor economic decision, our money was actually backed by gold in some form. And for the past 6,000 years, people had been using gold and silver. Even in the Bible, if you happen to be in a hotel room, pick up a copy of the Bible. What's all throughout it? Gold and silver. That's how people interacted financially with each other. From kings and queens all the way down to peasants and beggars, they considered money to be gold and often silver as well. Now, Bitcoin is a brilliant idea. I'm pretty offended that the SEC rejected that Bitcoin ETF, but it just shows us, as I said in yesterday's video, that the old financial system is probably not compatible with the new financial system. And ultimately, people deserve fair currency that doesn't lose time, that doesn't lose value over time. Everybody deserves that. It's a basic human right. And so I think the next couple of years are going to be very interesting. But this isn't a video about that. I wanted to say that based on what I'm seeing, I think beyond any reasonable doubt, Donald Trump is the real deal. He is not some facade to appease us. He really is a disruptive force who is going after the corrupt establishment and bringing them down, which is good because that's what we elected him to do. That's why we support him. We don't want him enriching people who've been screwing all of us for the past 8 years. We want him to fire those people. And I'm sure that some Muppets on public radio will say in the days ahead that Donald Trump is staging some kind of coup for firing all of those U.S. attorneys. Of course, all of the remaining U.S. attorneys, more than 40 of them who had been appointed by Obama. Attorney General Sessions sent out a letter to all of them, apparently, saying they need to resign immediately. And even though, again, public radio will use that to smear Trump and say that he's staging some kind of coup, first of all, we elected him. Second of all, he's the president, and he has a lot of say. He has a lot of leeway in the hiring decisions for our country and in the firing decisions. So this is not a coup. This is Donald Trump just being a good manager, being a good commander in chief, and firing the people who have underperformed. And what am I talking about here? Well, let's take a little walk down memory lane and actually think about what the U.S. attorneys under Obama had done. They had ignored a pedophile ring for 8 years that we now know is real. They had ignored a number of creepy satanic practices that we now know are real to varying extents. And yet they prosecuted some early Bitcoiners like Charlie Shrem. I think the guy's kind of a goofball in interviews. I don't think he should have gone to prison for simply being one of the earliest people to use Bitcoin. That is wrong, and it is immoral, and it's a misuse of federal resources. They should have been going after heroin dealers and pedophile rings, not some guy who's promoting Bitcoin, and yet they put him in prison. That's what the U.S. attorneys working for Obama actually did. Now, the U.S. attorneys also went after the co-founder of Reddit, Aaron Swartz, arguably, according to some people, right up there with a Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg in terms of intelligence and in terms of future potential. But because they were trying to put him in prison for 30 years for simply downloading some academic journal articles off the internet without permission, because of that witch hunt, he ended up hanging himself, leaving behind a girlfriend and a family, and one of the most successful websites on the internet, Reddit. So that's how they treated the co-founder of Reddit, is they drove him to suicide. The well-known journalist and researcher Barrett Brown, an American journalist, was put in prison for basically just researching the deep state and telling us what he found. So they were not good people, these U.S. attorneys under Obama. They were corrupt enforcers for an even more corrupt establishment that didn't want to see Bitcoin take off and didn't want to see independent journalism as hard hitting as Barrett Brown's take off. And yet again, they were totally useless in terms of going after the pedo ring, in terms of going after domestic terrorism. Of course, San Bernardino happened and all of those other attacks over the last 8 years. They didn't do their jobs properly. So Trump is correct to fire them and to find better people to replace them with. That combined with Kellyanne Conway, his counselor, President Trump's counselor, she tweeted this out earlier today. Let me just read it and then I'll go to sleep and I'll leave all you guys alone. But here's her last tweet. Human trafficking, a serious crime of our time. Looking the other way hurts young girls like 14-year-old MB forced into over 1,000 sex acts. So that is her last tweet. She is drawing attention to the underage sex trafficking epidemic in the U.S., to her more than 1.2 million followers on Twitter. This is real. There's a reason why they just cleaned house and got rid of all the shill U.S. attorneys and are replacing them with real, competent, and fair prosecutors. And I think that reason is that the Trump administration wants to go after these sickos, and I support him 100% in that effort. Thank you guys so much for watching, and real quick also, thanks to each and every one of you for the support and for subscribing to this YouTube channel. YouTube sent me this awesome award that just confirms that I have over 100,000 verified subscribers. They sent me a very nice note as well. Thank you, YouTube. All I want is a fair platform to share my ideas and to share some of my research. And now that I have that, I'm very happy. I'm very happy at the moment. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks again to YouTube for the nice award. This is only the beginning. We're going to keep growing, and that's thanks to each and every one of you. I look forward to hearing what you have to say in the comments section, but to close this one out, the Trump administration is doing the right thing by getting rid of these corrupt prosecutors and corrupt attorneys. They went after Bitcoiners, and they went after political opponents and journalists. They didn't go after the pedo ring, and that's a big no-no. That shows how corrupt these people were. Good riddance.
You're watching Fulcrum. Be sure to bookmark fulcrum.news.